The hardest thing to convince these guys and gals to get help with is the fact that they think they're okay. It won't happen to me. That's not for me. And then for them to realize one day that it's actually them, it's hard to get them to turn this direction. We could address it financially with the government. I tell them all the time, I go, if you don't care about people, think about the finances. If you take good care of them while they're in, you keep the experience, you keep them healthy. You know, it costs more to get them out and then still take care of them. The VA's still paying money to do it. So why don't you keep them in, keep them healthy and take care of them. And then when they get out, you'll spend a lot less money on the other side because they'll be less screwed up.
In today's social media obsessed world, we all see the successes, the world record breaking, and the achievements of the people we look up to. But what we don't see is what goes on behind the scene. Hosted by power couple Dean and Alana Stott, this show is dedicated to asking difficult questions while discovering the support systems and people behind those we love and respect in media, business, athletics, and high-performance culture. Dean and Alana believe that through honest communication, teamwork, and mutual respect, that anything is possible.
Like, there's not a better partner I could choose who's equally as crazy as me, because we have a chip on our shoulder to prove people wrong, you know, and to prove ourselves right.
I can go be the face of this. I can go do this, but I don't understand the back end of this. I have to learn business. I have to learn how this works.
Many couples in this dynamic are stuck and unable to move forward in an identity crisis.
Marcus's energy is so bad. I feel like I need to cleanse my house. Like, it is so, it's suffocating. And then seeing him 24 hours later, he was as light as air. Yeah.
And we literally embraced, hugged. I stepped back and I said, this is exactly what the guys need.
When we can look behind the scene and learn from each other, we can finally move forward and transform into our fullest potential.
And I think it's important to note that we started really pushing for spouse engagement as well. Sometimes we'll show up at a base and there'll be 4 wives there. And I'll sit and I'll talk to them and, you know, I'll ask the organizer, what happened here? Why aren't the spouses showing up? Why aren't they reaching out for the support? And quite frankly, as I started asking, they're like, I'm uncomfortable going on base. I don't know where to go. I don't know anybody else. The system of tribe is not the same for the spouses. So All Secure Foundation, although we 100% support the special operation warfighter, if a spouse comes to us and needs help and the warfighter's not interested, that's fine. We will support that spouse. They will go through our program. That includes divorcees, someone who was married to a special operator who's now trying to deal with, maybe putting her life back together, Gold Star spouses. So we are equally there for the soft spouse.
In any service, any special operations, in any capacity with any service.
Yep.
Amazing.
And
we've even helped guys on your side of the pond, guys on the other side of the pond going the other way. They've called in and like, hey, our mental health system is horrible here. I'm like, well, ours is too. So what's up? He's like, well, it's really horrible here. It's like, come on, bring your boys, just send them in. We'll get them on a Zoom at certain times and chat with them, New Zealand, Australia, and you guys. We help them as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, we don't actually have a anything really. So when the guys come back from tour on a 6-month deployment, what they do is they send them to Cyprus for 48 hours and give them free alcohol, because that will sort it out.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a real good way to fix people.
That's called decompression for 48 hours. I mean, you're sorted when you go home. It's like, that isn't the answer. And then also that transition, leaving out, we have, I think even still you have interview techniques and CV writing, but I've never had an interview and never written a CV. You know what I mean? It's like, I want to know all these other things that I don't understand, how to write a proposal, how to do an NDA and such. And actually the people who are running these programs have never worked in the corporate sector before. They are late entry officers trying to find roles. So they've just got it all completely wrong. So
I think I found it, I went to one of the events, this kind of resettlement event, And I listened to everything they were saying, and I was like, okay, for a start, you're talking about them going into maybe private contracting work. So they're going to be going from employed to self-employed. So have you talked to them about taxes? Have you talked to them about their potential of getting mortgages in the future? Have you talked any of these, how to write a CV is awesome, but there's a million other things that these guys need to know that you're sending them off into this world. And I think that for people like Dean, he started when he was a kid, really. So he's never paid a bill. Yeah. He's never, he didn't know when I told him we have to pay for water, he was like, what? Why do you have to pay for that? Like,
isn't water free?
Yeah.
Well, as you know, when you're on operations, you're planning an operation, and it's like, I need two Blackhawks, I need UAV, I need fast air, I need 40 guys. No one gives me a bill. No one tells me how much that costs. There's no NDA or proposal. It's automatically done for you. And then you enter this world where, everything comes at a cost. And so there's so much more that can be done in that transition, but especially with the mental health, getting you mentally prepared for when you leave. I had a parachute injury and I had to leave straight away. So I didn't have that transition. But I loved hearing the fact that it's not just those that are leaving, it's those that are still in. And I haven't seen anything like this. I may be corrected on this podcast when someone reaches out, but there isn't anything in the UK. So I'd love to share this All Secure Foundation with those across the pond as well. It's amazing.
And how are you funded?
We have some really amazing private donors. Luckily, it was a struggle the first 2 years, frankly. I see why a lot of nonprofits don't make it. It is extremely difficult. We literally had someone introduce us to an organization called Diamond Pet Foods here in Missouri. So local company, and they came on in a very big way and supported us as our admin or business partners. So they understand that, the business of helping people is a business. And we appreciate that about them. They're very savvy, great guys. So they support us in our admin function. And then we have a bunch of really great other large donors and individuals who also want to support the mission.
Other organizations have pitched in as well, because we created a network to catch these veterans versus if you come to us and we don't do it, see ya, we don't do that. If they come to us and we don't do that, or the regular Army, we don't see them, I kind of assess how bad off they are as much as I can. And if they're regular Army, and I hate to say this because it'll open the floodgates, but if dudes reach out or women reach out and they're like, hey, I need a little help, but I work here. I'm like, all right, here's some resources. I will let you see our coach for 1 or 3, sessions while they assess what you need the most. And then we'll give you resources along the way. And then you're on your own again, because there's other organizations with billions of dollars that help people like that. But we help them find their way there.
And then they, in return, these organizations sometimes that we, whether it's psychedelics or, stellate ganglion block, whatever the treatment might be, we partner with these other organizations that will send those folks back to us to get the coaching after. Because no matter what treatment you do for PTS, you have to include behavioral change in it. Otherwise, people expect like, oh, I'm going to get this shot. Yeah, that's going to relieve the fight, flight, or freeze response. But it has nothing to do with the behavioral things that you learned in the SAS for 10, 15, 20 years. So you have to sort of rewrite some of those behaviors that simply don't work for you anymore. They did then, they don't now. So that's part of the training that we do. And we do that with spouses too.
Yeah.
And do you get any support from the DOD? Do they recommend?
I wish.
No. Okay.
No.
Nothing yet.
No, they probably hate us. We've tried. We've gone in. We've tried.
Spoke at the White House communication.
Spoke at the White House.
Yeah.
Congressional briefings.
Got a bill passed. And it was, but other than that, the DOD, they kind of leaned in. We were talking for the VA, and then the DOD, Senator McCain, before he passed, his people came down. We were talking. They said, hey, we want to put this in the DOD too. Let's keep them healthy. We need healthy warriors.
Yeah.
If they get out and they're screwed up, that means they were screwed up when they're in. They're not healthy warriors. And then he passed, and I don't know what happened with that. But the VA finally passed that bill probably 3 or 4 years later. That's the speed of it. But the hardest thing to convince these guys and gals to get help with is the fact that they think you're okay. It won't happen to me. That's not for me. And then for them to realize one day that it's actually them, it's hard to get them to turn this direction. So we kind of changed the verbiage. It's not help, it's coaching. It's not PTSD, it's post-traumatic stress or post-traumatic stress injury.
Yeah.
And just to get them in the door.
Yeah.
And interestingly, do you deal with, because one thing that I've seen within the community is not just the spouse and the individual, but the children. Are you doing any work with the children?
That's my next passion project. I'm glad you brought that up. Most people don't know what secondary PTS is. And when I first learned about it, it made so much sense. Everything clicked for me. Basically, the way I describe it to spouses now is eggshell syndrome, or trying to avoid the landmines in your home. And so when you have a spouse or a partner with PTS, even like my grandma and grandpa, so my grandpa never served in wartime. However, he did create PTS not only in my grandmother, but he created it in my mother and my aunt. So neither of them treated their PTS. I can't really speak to my aunt, but my mother never addressed her PTS. It got worse with time, not better. She became abusive in her own right. So it becomes generational. And I was convinced, determined that I would break that cycle. It wouldn't happen. I wouldn't hit, spank, scream, whatever, emotionally abuse my children, that would stop with me. But the secondary PTS is such a big thing because when you are with someone who has post-traumatic stress in the home, it rewrites you. You could develop anxiety, depression. So all these spouses call and they're like, I never had depression before in my life, and now I can't get out of bed. Or, I never had issues with anxiety and now the simplest tasks are really overwhelming to me, what's going on. And I'll say, look up secondary PTS and kind of walk them through that. And every time it's a light bulb moment, every single time I thought I was crazy. This isn't all my fault. I thought I was screwing the house up. Everything was on me. And then it's just an understanding. It's an awakening of this is just the biological response that happens. And then here's all the stuff that falls out when you don't treat it. So, of course, the spouses are affected, but absolutely 100% the children.
Yeah.
And we even know statistically in the United States, children who live with a parent who served in a combat zone and has direct PTS from that, anywhere between 10 to 17% chance higher of suicide with that youth. So we know it impacts. We know that there's mental health struggles. And our organization is super passionate about finding a way around HIPAA and all the laws so that we can work with children. But right now, legally, we do have a referral network. So when someone reaches out and they're saying, hey, my kid's really struggling with ADHD, or my kid's really struggling, they're acting out at school a lot, I'll say, read my chapter on secondary PTS, call me back. And 9 times out of 10, they're like, I didn't even know to ask my doctor or psychiatrist to take a look at this with my child because I've never told the doctor that I have a military family. And quite often when they bring a child in for assessment, it's not ADHD, it's not all of these other things, it's secondary PTS.
And the guys don't understand it. I tell them this. I said, your wife's behaving differently because they're afraid to set you off. So they change who they are because of how you're acting. That's secondary PTS. They changed exactly who they are, so not to set you off.
And we hear the kids say that too.
We have this problem, and in America, at least I say that, trying to convince these people to stick with treatment. Do you have the same problem over there? Because in America, we want everything right now. Give me a shot, and if I'm not better, it didn't work.
Yeah.
Want to go to one therapy session. If I'm not healthy after that, it didn't work, and I'm going to go somewhere else. Or if your therapist hasn't been to combat, I don't want to talk to them because they won't get me. And I'm like, well, if you haven't been to college for 4 to 8 years, I don't want to talk to you then because you won't get them.
Yeah.
Do you have that same problem where guys want to be fixed right away and they don't stick with it?
I think there's definitely that issue. And I think going back to what you were saying before, the label is something that nobody wants. You could have all the anger, all the symptoms that might come with something like PTS, but nobody wants that label of PTS. So they'll ignore it and say that it's not real. And as you're saying, it can be trickling down within the house. But if they're saying this isn't it, then the next generation can't then get fixed either, so we're having this circle that's just there's chains that are unable to be broken.
Yeah, I left in 2011, and mental health was a taboo. No one was talking about it. We've done a lot in the mental health arena ourselves, and it's been good that people are talking about it. But still, I know a good friend of ours, actually, Chris. He does something similar to you guys, consulting, and he's got a lot of senior officers and senior sergeant majors coming to him, but they can't go to the military because they're fearful that it will pause their career. So they admit that they have a problem, but they can't go to the military because they feel it's going to pause their career, which is shocking, really. So I think some people don't realize they have a problem, and some people do realize they have a problem, just don't know where to go to. So I was going to ask, do you have a lot of those that come to you that are coming to you discreetly, keeping it away from the military? So is that the case here as well?
100%.
Every question we get is, can you report to anybody? And we've had two
Or do you keep your records, or who will find out?
We had
Nobody.
2 phone calls asking for records, and I said, we don't keep records.
We don't even keep
We don't
them.
provide counseling. We do coaching. So we don't keep records. And they're like, oh, well, all right. So everybody trusts the fact that we don't connect with anybody, because that's exactly what's going on. If someone's breaks their leg, okay, they get 6-8 weeks of light duty behind a desk. But if you self-assess as post-traumatic stress or you're a drunk, they're like, you're out of here.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You're drinking to cope with something. You have post-traumatic stress from what you did. It's the same as a broken leg. If we can get past the fact that if I can't see it, it's not broke, then you don't have anything wrong with you. So we're killing our own people while they're in by not helping them when they actually need the help.
Yeah, I know. Like when as you can imagine this scene, I was at the SAS camp and I saw one of the squadrons all walking in the gym with these big bouncy balls and these bands. I'm like, what are you lot all doing? And it's like, oh, we're now getting into physiotherapy because actually we can look after ourselves. It saves the military millions in injuries. And if they could just do the same with mental health and realize that actually, if you dedicate a bit of time and it's not a taboo, then you'll go, I'm going to save so many lives, but also save a lot of money as well. Because unfortunately, in the military, you talk about civilians and stuff. It is a business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have so many employees. They're trying to save money. You know what I mean? It is a business at the end of the day.
And I think with PTS or any sort of mental illness or disorder or whatever, it's got the level. So, for example, you may have just pulled a muscle at the gym and need a little bit of light massage. You may have broke your leg and need to actually have it in a cast and treated. The same with anything that's to do with the mind. It could have varying levels, and it doesn't need to be this hard and fast diagnosis. We just might need to just adjust your treatment a little bit. You might be off in Peru doing ayahuasca, or you might be just needing to chat to someone a little bit and pull through it. So I do think it's kind of crazy in 2023 we're not addressing it the way we should be addressing it.
Yeah,
we could address it financially with the government. I tell them all the time, I go, if you don't care about people, think about the finances. If you take care of them while they're in, you keep the experience, you keep them healthy. It costs more to get out of them, get them out, and then still take care of them. The VA is still paying money to do it. So why don't you keep them in, keep them healthy, and take care of them? Then when they get out, you'll spend a lot less money on the other side because they'll be less screwed up. And I tell them, our combat doesn't need more money as much right now. It needs to sustain. But, between how many killed in combat in the last 20 years were 5,673, I think. Compare that
Americans.
to the same amount of time with the 20 to 60,000 suicides in the same amount of time.
Yeah.
We're not losing people on the battlefield as much. We're losing people at home after the battle.
Yeah.
And do you know how much it costs the government to do, I don't know exactly the system here, but like to pay for social security benefits and VA benefits, all these things that come? I don't know do you get paid if you're off sick with mental health here?
I have a retirement check that pays me for disability.
I
Things
was
that I
going to
got
say.
while I was in, and I get retirement, which is half of my disability, sadly. Other than that,
I don't
you're
know.
on your own to go get help. If you've retired, you can go do, whatever doctor you want. If you just spent enough time in that you haven't retired, then you go to the VA. And if you go to the VA, you're going to wait 4 to 6 months to even be seen, probably. Guys have killed
Get a
themselves in the parking
15-minute
lot, give,
appointment.
diagnosis of no more hope. There's nothing else we can do for you. And it's a big organization. When you have a huge organization, you got people in there that have been in there a while and end up not caring. And, they're just doing their job daily. So
It's a mess.
These
It's a bit
small
of a mess.
nonprofits, these other size nonprofits that are helping people are really kind of the way to go to get that help that you need when you need it right away.
Yeah.
And can individuals donate to you guys? How do they do it?
Yes, we love donations. So allsecurefoundation.org. There's a donate button. We're a 501c3. So all of our, to note that we do have that business partner who's amazing, who has been with us since the very beginning, 2 years in. And they're not going anywhere, which is awesome. But we do need support because we've just brought on our 5th coach. We're starting 2 new programs. So every bit of support would absolutely help us get these programs off the ground. And just on our website, there's a donate button. There's also like merch and things like that if you prefer to donate and give in that way. So yeah, absolutely. We could definitely use all the support we could get.
Yeah, and we'll share that as well with this podcast.
Thank you.
And already you're starting to grow. Where do you see, where was your aspirations for All Secure Foundation? Where's your dream goal?
Well, we want a beautiful camp on a beautiful lake in a mountain somewhere where people can just come to us, and we can do like 2 a month, maybe instead of 4 a year. We can do 2 a month and get people to come into our own brick and mortar facility, which is like our next step up. Instead of traveling around the United States and taking what we can to them and finding land and setting it up, and it's a nightmare every time because you're going to forget something. So just having a place that you can just repeatedly pump people through to get them as much help as they need, and then connect them to the other organizations that can give them that physical thing that they need, whether it is shot or psychedelics or, TMS or something. But yeah, that would be our big dream.
Yeah. I could see that for the
towards
children as well. That would be amazing for a children's camp. And
Yeah.
I know I could probably fill that myself with veterans' kids that just need that bit of time. Because as you say, when they're dealing with daddy's issues, then mummy's got issues, there's little time for them, is there, to see what's going on with their little heads.
Yeah, and they pick up on everything. Kids see
everything.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, my son and I are just trying to reconnect. He's 22, living in DC now. I was never home.
Yeah.
And when I was home, I didn't know what to do with him. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this kid. He's little. I don't know. I just didn't. I was never home to learn that tool. And so we're still trying to reconnect, and it's getting better and better. But I just tell people now, if you don't know how to connect with them, just lay on the ground. Let them climb on top of you and crawl around, and you be the mountain, whatever it is. Just be there so they can see you. And you don't have to do anything. If you're like me and you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. He's young and I'm stupid. And it's one of those, just be there. Right? Just be there for him. I know my son told her when I was out and I was doing contract work, I just kept doing contract work and I was always gone. And he told her, why is my dad never home? And she's like, well, he has to do a lot of work. He does a lot of good things for people and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I just wish he'd work at Home Depot so I could see him. And that crushed me. I mean, that really crushed me to hear that.
Yeah, fully. My daughter would have been around. She's kind of done the years where Dean's only been home 20 days a year and done all those things. And now my Dean's still working away, but not as often. But even when he does go away for the little times, he's like, I want daddy back. And Molly will be like, this is nothing. This 2 weeks is nothing. I'm used to so.
Experience speaking.
Yeah. No, exactly. Oh.
So they know, right? They know when you're fighting and they know when you're not happy.
Yeah, they've got a sixth sense as well. They know when things are going on. But especially when I was away, it comfort you, the kids as well.
Yeah, the kids are amazing. But yeah, we've got a baby now, so Dean, she's getting all the good part of Dean. She's getting all the good stuff. So
that's awesome.
So, do you love him now then, Jen?
Yeah.
Do you find him attractive?
Yes.
And that's good.
Do you still call him a seal?
More now than.
Do you call him a seal now then to wind him up? No?
I do, especially when he's got good abs. He's glistening in the sun. I'm like, ooh, you've got your seal on. And look at this hair. This is straight.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's got the beach body going.
Yeah. People don't know who I am anymore. I'm driving around town and they look at me with my hair and like, look at this loser. I'm like, you don't know, man. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. I don't wear sandals and run around and give people flowers.
Now, Tom. Full on civilian.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. I'm incognito.
Yeah. I think from me, obviously you guys met each other at the worst part in your life. But from what I can see, it was the best thing that ever happened to you. And what you're doing now for the veterans, their spouses, is absolutely amazing. And we would love to share this globally if we can, and direct people to your page, also to your book, Tom, as well. And I think...
Jen, you've got a book as well, haven't you?
Jen, you have a book as well, do you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do. It's called Arsenal of Hope. It's more directed towards the spouses and family.
Like, here's what to do with this crazy people.
Yeah.
Amazing, crazy.
Amazing, yeah.
So we usually end the podcast asking the question. I feel like I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask you individually. What's your purpose, Jenn?
Ooh, that has been my life question. My purpose, I believe, is to love, forgive, and help others see that we overcomplicate things while we're here. And life really is more simple. And if we can just get to that base of love and forgiveness, we all live a better life. So how I do that, I guess I've done that in several different ways, but I think ultimately that's why I'm here.
Amazing.
Great answer.
You?
I agree with that, the love and the forgiveness. And then I think my purpose on top of that is to bring my experience to others and to share my path, whether it be the dirty laundry I throw out there, just to open up other people's hearts and souls to it, and to let them feel like it's okay to share the truth that you're hiding, so you don't feel like you're miserable and hiding something the rest of your life, which will kill you. But just to share my experiences and my way out of that dark hole for others so they can find their way out as well.
Amazing.
And you do your strengths and weaknesses.
Hey? My strengths and weaknesses? Oh, their strengths. Yeah, sorry. Final question. Alana caught me. I forgot we actually had an ending. So I totally forgot. My mind's gone blank.
It's just been.
So Jenn, I need to ask you, what are Tom's strengths and weaknesses, not your own strengths and weaknesses? And Tom,
got it.
Yes.
You know, it's like you go to that strength place with guys like you guys, and it becomes really, it can be really obvious. In fact, we'll ask couples at retreats, like we'll ask to do a word for each other, and we're like, don't use brave. You can't use brave or courageous for the dudes. Like, we know that part's checked. So I know he has so many strengths, but I think his greatest strength is his compassion, because I've seen it come back and it is massive. And I think the largest part of him that suffered was because he lost that compassion, which became his weakness. So I think his strength is compassion and finding it again for others, because he's amazing with others when he loves himself. I think his weakness has been his insecurity and insecurities that he's not worthy.
Yeah.
Or not good enough, that perfection driven.
Exactly, yeah.
But I mean, it helped you get to where you were too, but I've seen it also destroy you. So I guess it's a both.
Very beautiful.
It's a both.
Yeah.
Very beautiful. And Tom?
Yeah, I should have been thinking about that, huh?
You had an extra 3 minutes,
I
man.
had time. I think for her, what I was stuck out early on, but I didn't know it till later because I didn't understand what it was empathy. Her ability to put herself in someone else's shoes, take a pause, and not just try to answer and fix it, but take a pause and sometimes tell people that that's just the way it is. It's okay to not be okay. Mm. You don't need to freak out about it, but just sit in it for a bit. But her empathy and ability to put herself in someone else's life and story and relate to it, that was her biggest strength.
You got to do a weakness now.
She's looking right at you for this one.
Yeah, I am. I'm like, give it to me. Let's go.
I don't think she has any.
Stop
but if I
it.
can make one up.
I'm messy.
She's messy, man. I got to walk around the house and clean up after, and it freaks me out sometimes. And
you can come up. No, that's what you have to come up with.
Can
one.
You ever? Huh?
I gave my own weakness, so that doesn't count.
That is her weakness. Thank you for helping.
You're welcome.
Amazing.
I think that was a strength for her, though, to be able to let stuff lie and not let it bother her. Even though I'm like, order, I got to pick it up. What are you doing? I just vacuum the floor. Don't walk on it for a week. It's like raking the shag carpet. Like, don't walk in there. Don't ever go in that room. But
I think
it's a strength for her.
You can teach that along the way. I think we've got 3 kids, 12, 7, 1. And it's funny how each one, I remember when Molly, if there was a baby wipe or like the diaper wasn't like put on, like anything in our house, he would be like freaking out completely. I'm like, it's a baby. And now we're on to the 3rd. He's like, okay.
That was the reason I was away I was only home 20 days a year. I couldn't deal with the mess. You know, and I'm sort of got used to it.
That's all of our reasons. That's all of our reasons.
Get used to the mess. That's it. That's it.
Yes. Embrace a mess.
Embrace the mess. Amazing.
From behalf of myself and Alana, I just want to thank you guys so much for joining us. I've known more now about All Secure Foundation. I mean, it's amazing what you guys are doing, and we'd love to share this message with everyone, as many people as possible. But I think, from ourselves, thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing, and you are changing hundreds, thousands of people's lives.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You guys are amazing.
Thank you. Thank you guys for everything that you guys are doing too. It's awesome to follow along.
And can I just grab one more time? So it's allsecurefoundation.org. Is that the website we're looking for?
That's correct.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
And what are your social media handles? At Tom Sally, at Jenn Sally?
You got it.
Yeah, we're also on there as All Secure Foundation.
All Secure Foundation. So it's not at Tom Sally, seal in brackets. No?
It's there. It's there for fun.
I'll set up another domain. I'm going to steal that domain. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.